In an unprecedented move, the Justice Department is intervening to take over President Trump's defense in a defamation lawsuit brought by his rape accuser. Last year, columnist E. Jean Carroll released an excerpt of her book alleging Mr. Trump sexually assaulted her in the mid-90s. Here's how she described the incident to CNN last summer.
I preceded him into the dressing room. The minute he closed that door, I was banged up against the wall.
He slammed you against the wall?
Yeah, I hit my head really hard. Boom. He pulled down my tights. And it was a fight. I want women to know that I did not stand there. I did not freeze. I was not paralyzed, which is a reaction that I could have had because it's so shocking. No, I fought. And it was over very quickly. It was against my will, 100%. And I ran away, out.
Hey world, Adam is here. This is not a drill. This actually just happened. Donald Trump was physically dragged out of a federal courtroom by U.S. Marshals after he refused to leave when the judge ordered him removed. Let that sink in for a moment.
The woman at the center of a civil trial against former President Donald Trump took the stand today. Writer E. Jean Carroll claims Trump sexually assaulted her in a dressing room in the 1990s, then defamed her when she went public with the allegations. Trump himself was not in court and is unclear if he will appear at all. ABC's Morgan Norwood has more on the case.
The writer who claims former President Donald Trump raped her inside a Manhattan department store dressing room nearly 30 years ago, taking the witness stand today in the federal civil case against him. E. Jean Carroll telling the court, quote, "I am here because Donald Trump raped me." The former advice columnist adding, "When I wrote about it, he said it didn't happen. He lied and shattered my reputation." Jurors were shown this photo of Trump, Carroll, and her then husband. Carroll testifying the photo is from their first encounter in 1987. Carroll says that in the mid-1990s, she bumped into Trump at the high-end Fifth Avenue store Bergdorf Goodman. She says he asked for her help in selecting a gift. Then she claims he lunged at her in a dressing room.
A former president of the United States had to be forcibly escorted out by federal law enforcement because he wouldn't follow a judge's direct order. The scene was absolute chaos. Witnesses are still in shock, and the footage leaking out is already breaking the internet. According to multiple eyewitnesses and court records, things went completely off the rails when the judge ruled that Trump's conduct toward a witness crossed a legal red line.
The Justice Department wants to take over President Trump's defense in a defamation lawsuit. Last year, columnist E. Jean Carroll accused Mr. Trump of raping her in the 1990s. President Trump responded to the allegations by saying she was, quote, totally lying to sell a book she published. She's suing him for saying she lied. Today, Attorney General William Barr defended his department's decision to intervene in the case.
So this was a normal application of the law. The law is clear. It is done frequently. And the little tempest that's going on is largely because of the bizarre political environment in which we live and
We're talking witness intimidation here. The kind of behavior that no court can tolerate, because if defendants can threaten witnesses, the entire justice system collapses. The judge ordered Trump removed from the courtroom, told him to pack it up and get out, and Trump refused. Not quietly either. According to detailed accounts from people who were actually in that room, Trump stood up and started screaming at the judge, called them a radical lunatic, accused them of bias and corruption. The judge cut his microphone, trying to shut him down, but Trump kept yelling anyway, just screaming into a dead mic while the whole courtroom watched in stunned silence. That's when the U.S. Marshals stepped in. These are federal officers whose job is to maintain order in federal courtrooms. When a judge orders someone removed, they don't ask twice. They remove you. So the Marshals, along with Secret Service agents, moved in and physically escorted Trump out of the courtroom. Some reports say he was dragged. Others say he was walked out forcibly. But either way, it was not voluntary. Trump did not go quietly, and the whole scene turned into absolute chaos. Observers are describing it as surreal, shocking, the kind of thing you'd expect in some authoritarian country, not in a United States federal courtroom. But it happened, and it's raising massive questions about whether Trump can be controlled by any institution anymore. Let's be clear about what triggered this. The judge determined that Trump's behavior toward a specific witness crossed the line into intimidation. This is serious, like really serious. Witness intimidation threatens the integrity of the entire trial, because if defendants can threaten or intimidate witnesses, nobody will testify, nobody will cooperate, and trials become a joke. So judges take this stuff very seriously, and when a judge sees behavior that looks like witness intimidation, they have to act. They have to protect the witness, and they have to send a message that this kind of conduct will not be tolerated. That's exactly what this judge tried to do. They ordered Trump removed. Standard procedure when a defendant is disrupting proceedings or engaging in behavior that threatens the trial, and Trump responded by refusing to leave and screaming at the judge. Now, here's the thing. Trump has been pushing boundaries in court for months, attacking judges, ignoring gag orders, daring the system to punish him, and for the most part, judges have been patient. They've issued warnings. They've fined him. They've threatened contempt. But they haven't actually thrown him in jail. They haven't actually followed through on the most serious consequences. And Trump has interpreted that as weakness, as proof that he can keep pushing, that he can keep testing the limits, that ultimately nobody's going to do anything. But this removal changes everything. This physical confrontation shows that judges are finally done being patient. They're done issuing warnings. They're ready to actually enforce the rules. And legal experts are saying this is just the beginning. If Trump keeps defying court orders, if he keeps testing their authority, he could actually be detained, held in contempt, locked up. Think about that. A former president being jailed by a federal judge for contempt of court. It sounds like something out of a movie, but we're getting dangerously close to it becoming reality. What would that actually look like? Contempt of court comes in two flavors. Civil contempt is designed to force compliance. Criminal contempt is punishment for defying the court's authority. If a judge finds you in criminal contempt, they can impose fines. They can impose jail time. And they don't need a separate trial. They can do it right there in the courtroom. Immediate detention. So if Trump keeps this up, if he keeps refusing to follow court orders, if he keeps attacking witnesses or disrupting proceedings, a judge could find him in contempt and order marshals to detain him right there. No warning. No second chance. And here's the crazy part. Legal analysts say that marshals are already coordinating security assessments and detention logistics in case this happens. They're planning for it because Trump's behavior has been so erratic, so defiant, that they have to be ready. What would detention actually look like for a former president? That's the million-dollar question. Trump has Secret Service protection. He's a high-profile figure. You can't just throw him in a regular holding cell with other defendants. So if a judge orders him detained, there would have to be special arrangements, a secure facility, coordination between marshals and Secret Service, probably some kind of private cell or area. But make no mistake, it would still be detention. He would still be locked up, and the political fallout from that would be absolutely massive. Because think about the optics. A former president sitting in a cell because a federal judge held him in contempt. Trump's supporters would lose their minds. They'd call it tyranny, persecution, proof that the deep state is trying to destroy him. There would be protests, maybe even violence, but Trump's critics would celebrate. They'd say, finally, someone held him accountable. Finally, the rule of law is being enforced. This is what equal justice looks like, and the country would be more divided than ever. This is all happening at the same time that Trump is losing battles on other fronts too. The Supreme Court just slapped him down on tariffs. His legal immunity defenses are crumbling in multiple cases. His poll numbers are underwater. So you've got this pattern of Trump losing control in the courts, in policy fights, in public opinion. And this physical removal from a courtroom fits right into that narrative. It's another example of Trump being unable to dominate the situation, of institutions pushing back, of his power slipping away. And that's got to be driving him crazy because Trump's whole brand is built on strength, on winning, on being in control. And right now, none of that is true. He's getting slapped down by courts. He's getting overruled by the Supreme Court, and he's getting physically dragged out of courtrooms. The optics are terrible. And for a guy who lives and dies by optics, who understands that perception is reality, this has to be eating him alive. How is this going to play politically? That's the really interesting question, because footage of Trump being dragged out of court, being manhandled by federal agents, is going to be interpreted completely differently depending on who you ask. For Trump's critics, this is accountability. This is proof that the rule of law still matters. That even a former president can't just do whatever he wants in a courtroom. That judges are finally standing up to him and saying enough. You don't get special treatment. You follow the rules like everyone else. But for Trump's base, this is persecution. This is proof that the system is rigged against him. That radical judges are abusing their power to humiliate and punish him for political reasons. And it's going to turn him into even more of a martyr, the guy who's standing up to a corrupt system that's trying to destroy him. So this incident, as dramatic as it is probably going to make both sides dig in even harder. Trump's opponents are going to demand more accountability. His supporters are going to rally around him. And the country is going to get even more divided. The witness intimidation angle is particularly serious because that's what triggered this whole confrontation. The judge ruled that Trump's conduct toward a witness crossed a line. And if prosecutors can show that Trump is threatening or intimidating witnesses, that's a separate crime. That's obstruction of justice. And it can lead to additional charges, more legal jeopardy, more time in court. So Trump's behavior in the courtroom isn't just hurting his image. It's creating new legal problems. It's giving prosecutors more ammunition. And it's making it harder for his lawyers to defend him because how do you defend a client who won't stop attacking judges and witnesses, who won't follow basic courtroom rules, who turns every hearing into a circus? It's almost impossible, and Trump's lawyers have to be tearing their hair out trying to manage him. This also raises the question of whether Trump can even get a fair trial at this point. Because if he keeps disrupting proceedings, if judges keep having to remove him, how do you actually conduct a trial? How do you seat a jury? How do you present evidence? Trump's lawyers might try to use that as an argument. They might say, look, our client can't get a fair trial because he keeps getting thrown out of court. The whole process is tainted. We need a mistrial or a change of venue or something. But judges aren't going to buy that because Trump is creating the disruption himself. He's the one refusing to follow rules. He's the one attacking witnesses. You can't create chaos and then claim you're being treated unfairly because of it. That defense probably won't work, but Trump's team will try it anyway because at this point, they're running out of options. The bigger picture here is that we're watching a collision course between Trump and the judicial system, and neither side is backing down. Trump is not going to stop attacking judges. He's not going to stop pushing boundaries, and judges are not going to tolerate courtroom chaos and witness intimidation. So something's got to give. Either Trump changes his behavior, which seems unlikely based on everything we know about him, or a judge orders him detained. And if that happens, all hell breaks loose. You'll have protests, political violence, a constitutional crisis, accusations that the judiciary is staging a coup, claims that democracy is ending. It will be absolute chaos. But the alternative, letting Trump continue to disrupt trials and intimidate witnesses without consequences, is equally unacceptable. Because then the message is that if you're powerful enough, if you're famous enough, you can do whatever you want. And the rule of law is meaningless. So judges are in an impossible position. They have to enforce the rules. They have to protect trial integrity, even if it means triggering a political firestorm. And Trump, he's betting that they won't do it. He's betting that when push comes to shove, judges will back down. They'll give him special treatment. They'll let him slide. But based on this removal, based on how Marshals physically dragged him out, that bet is looking shakier every day. Because judges are sending a message. We're done playing games. We're done being patient. Follow the rules or face the consequences. And for the first time in a long time, Trump might actually have to face them. This is a defining moment, not just for Trump, not just for his legal battles, but for the country. Because it will test whether our institutions can actually hold powerful people accountable, whether the rule of law really applies equally, Whether anyone is truly above the law, the footage is everywhere, the analysis is everywhere, and even some of Trump's supporters are starting to ask questions. Even people who've defended him through everything are wondering if he's okay, if he can handle this pressure, if someone who acts like this should be running for anything ever again. Those questions aren't going away, and the answers are becoming more clear with every courtroom meltdown, every outburst, every moment where Trump shows the world exactly who he is when the pressure becomes too much. So what happens next? Trump has a choice. He can change his behavior. He can follow court rules. He can treat judges with respect and stop the attacks. And if he does that, things calm down. The drama stops, and he gets through his trials without getting locked up. Or he can keep doing what he's doing. Keep pushing boundaries. Keep defying judges. Keep testing the system. And if he does that, eventually a judge is going to snap. They're going to order him detained, and marshals are going to lock him up. Based on Trump's track record, based on who he is and how he's operated his entire life, which option do you think he's going to choose? The guy who never backs down, who never admits he's wrong, who would rather fight to the death than show weakness? Yeah, he's going to keep pushing, and eventually something's going to break.